Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here, and today I'm showing you how to do your oil change on your 2017 to 2022 or current GSXR 1000 or 1000R. Now, I was planning to do a first service on it from the dealership, but honestly guys, there's nothing at that dealership that they're going to do that you can't do. The reason I say that is because I actually had a friend of mine who actually took his GSXR to the dealership to have its first service, and when I looked over everything, I was like looking at it and I was like, that's pretty much everything I can do, you know. And then they charge a premium of, at least where I'm at in Illinois, it's $250. It could be different in the state and city you live in. Let me go ahead and show you what you need to do. Let's go ahead and get started, and let me show you the tools that obviously that you see right here in front of you. Let me just kind of go over everything of what you would need for your oil change. Alright, so for the GSXR 1000 or 1000R oil change with filter, it's going to be 3.5 quarts. Next, we have our oil filter here. It's by K&N. Part number for the filter. For if you are using the K&N filter, it does have this like a welded on bolt on there, and the size for this bolt is going to be a 17mm socket, and it fits on there nice and perfect. So that'll be for that. If you don't happen to have a socket for this, you could still use something like this, is what I like to use. It's just almost looks like a belt or whatever, but it pretty much goes over the filter, and you could tighten it or you could loosen it depending on what you use this for. It this comes in handy. It's made out of rubber, and you could actually adjust it by pushing this in, and you could adjust it, if you need it more or you need it less, and it works out very well. If you don't happen to have this or that, you could get a specific tool for a filter. I'm not sure exactly the size for that particular model of filter. You may just need to take your filter, or when you go to the store, actually this doesn't have that like cup thing, because normally on car filters there's like, it looks like a hex or whatnot. It looks like pretty much like the inside of the socket, so you're able to get like a a little cover that goes over the filter to tighten it. But I guess for motorcycles, either your socket or something similar to this will be ideal. So let's get on to the remaining parts of the tools here. We are going to need a ratchet for the socket. Also, by the way guys, the oil drain plug is also a 17mm size, so it's going to be for this. Next, we have our oil drain filter gaskets. You pretty much always want to change it when you do your oil changes. That's a good thing to do. Next, we have our handle for our 4mm Allen key and a 5mm Allen key. We also need to remove the left side of the fairing. Maybe not all of it. I'll see if I can get away with not removing all of it. Maybe just removing part of it, just so we can get access to the oil filter. And then next, we also need our funnel to put our oil into our engine, of course, and some clean paper towels that are really located right back here, right there. All right, so that's pretty much it. Another thing to note, if you happen to have some latex gloves, it'd be a good time to get some latex gloves. Or if you don't happen to have latex gloves, you're gonna need a lot of paper towels to clean your hands. And then last but not least, let's go over here. We're gonna need our oil drain container. All right guys, let's go over to the bike and let's get started. Also forgot to mention to you guys, if you happen to have a rear stand for your motorcycle, that'd be great, because it'll help you keep your bike leveled to pretty much drain everything. But if you happen to not have a stand like this, using the kickstand is perfectly fine as well. This kind of just helps you out a little bit more, and it also helps to get your bike off the floor to be able to slide. This particular one, as you can see, it's a little bit on the tall side, but if you guys just happen to have like a small like little tub that you could put underneath, you could use the kickstand. All right, so let's move over to the bike over here. So the screws that we're going to need to remove is going to be this one right here, 4mm Allen key. We're going to go ahead and remove this screw, 4mm Allen key. Then there's going to be a screw down here, 5mm Allen key, and 5mm Allen key right there. So let's go ahead and remove those. Once we remove it, there's a little grommet back here. You're just going to go put your hand back here and just kind of pop it out of there. If you thought that was too many screws, let's go over here, and we're going to remove some push pins over here. So if you guys see right over here, there's another little push pin. Just push the center of that one in. They look like this one's right here, that little centerpiece. Remove this one here, this one here, this one here, another one down over here, and then there is another little cap. It's not a push pin, but we're gonna have to remove that cap right here. I'll show you with the crayon. So that one right there. All right guys, here we are with the fairing. Now for the fairing, I did have to remove it from here. Now how I did it was, I wanted to make sure I didn't break any tabs, so I have this pry tool. Looks like this. I'll have a link in the description down below this video of how to purchase this pry tool. You get it in between here and just slowly kind of, pop it. So you go like this and just kind of tilt it and push it out. and that's how I was able to get this piece without breaking any of the tabs. As you can see how small they are. All right, so next I do have these aftermarket turn signals. You may still have the original ones, but that's okay. Now the wire is still connected over here, so you will have to, of course, disconnect it from here to remove the fairing completely. All right, guys, so I was able to remove the fairing, as you can see, and the only difficulty I had was over here was popping it right out of these parts over here, as there was no screws holding it, but you just had to undo it and just kind of pop it out of there. I'm sure to put it back in, it's going to be a little bit of a royal pain in the butt, but we'll see what we can do when we get there. All right, so now that we got the fairing completely off, so here is the location of the filter, and the original filter actually has the spot to actually put that cap type of tool that I was talking about. So the original, you're able to do that. With the aftermarket, if you get the K&N, you would just use that 17mm socket. First things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a lot of paper towels underneath here, because I don't want any oil really to spill on the exhaust, because once we turn it on and let it heat up, it's going to cook that oil and it's going to smell like burning oil, and then you're going to think that something is wrong. So we definitely don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and put a lot of paper towels here, and then next we're going to remove the oil filter. And you know, you could use any tool that you like that I had mentioned, or your preferred tool. And before you actually remove the filter all the way, you want to get your pan and put it right underneath here to catch any oil that drips, because you definitely don't want it to spill on the floor. Or if you have this work rug, you don't want it to spill there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and you guys do the same. Alrighty guys, I was able to find my one that I use for car oil changes. Now this is the cap that I'm talking about. This just goes over the oil filter, and as you can see, it has these like little walls that would, that would look like inside of a socket, and that's how pretty much you would remove the oil filter. So it'll be something like this. This one particularly does not fit the GSXR1000 oil filter. Alright, so let me get back to the bike. Let me go ahead and remove my oil filter by using that belt style, which is right here. I'm going to go ahead and use this to remove the oil filter. And if you guys are wondering how it looks like when you have the tool on there, this is how it looks like. I haven't completely removed it yet, but here's all my paper towels, and I have the belt already wrapped around it. Now for loosening, you pretty much want this bigger part to be at the top, so that way you get that leverage to push it up. As you can see, the arrow indicating to push that way and to loosen it. So just go ahead and get that leverage, and then you may have to adjust a little bit, pushing it down and then pushing it up to turn it. As you can see, it's already turning. Alright, so I want to go ahead, pause it, and remove my filter. You guys the same, and then you can see all the oil is going to drip on this paper and here into my pan. Well, the drips will come from there, but all the oil should drip into the pan. Alrighty, so pretty much all the oil went onto the paper and then onto the pan right here, which is fine, because I was thinking about removing the paper, but then all the oil will drop onto the exhaust, so definitely didn't want that. So I'd rather just have all the oil just spill on the paper and to the pan. There we are. So I'm going to go ahead and wait until every little last bit drop, comes out. Most people will just wait until this portion and then put their new filter, but I liked for everything to be really clean, even stop dripping. That's when I'm going to go ahead and clean the area with a clean paper towel, and then we'll get ready to put the new filter. I'll show you once I get there. Wanted to show you a little tip to help with the flow of oil come out a little bit better. Is go to the part where you fill the oil, hit the cap, and then just pretty much loosen it, or pretty much actually just take it out and kind of just put it at an angle like this. That way, don't completely remove it so no contaminants can get in there, and this will help get that flow of oil to come out a little bit better. Alrighty guys, I figure since we're waiting for that oil to finish dripping into the container, let's go ahead and pair our new oil filter and get it ready for installation. Go ahead and pop this guy out. Here he goes. You can see it's still sealed. I have not tampered with it. Brand new. Alright, so let's go ahead and pop this guy out. Okay, there we go. Get this plastic out. And there we go, brand new oil filter. Garbage in there. All right, so to help with the kind of the flow of the engine, instead of waiting or kind of starving the engine a little bit of oil before it even gets there, I know it kind of gets there pretty quick because it is a small engine, just kind of just help it out. So we're gonna go ahead and pour just a little bit of oil inside of here, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on the seal right here, just to make sure everything is nicely lubricated and a good seal. So go ahead and get our oil. Also, you may want to use your funnel so you could just make sure that all the oil goes inside and doesn't spill. Here is the thing. I'll go ahead and put my funnel, and we're not going to fill it to the top, guys. We're just going to put just a little bit of oil inside. That's all. All right, so we can do this with the camera in my way. I just hold it right there. All right, that should be good enough. Like I said, we were not planning to fill it out in the first place. We just wanted to make sure that we get a little bit of oil in there to kind of help with that circulation flow, because if we put a little bit more oil in there, as soon as we put it on there it's just going to spill out anyway, and you definitely don't want to spill any of this oil, as pretty much I usually always use the Mobil one, the better, you know, type of oil in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and dip my finger just a little bit in there to kind of get a little bit of oil on my finger, and then I'm going to put some on the seal. I just want to kind of coat it. So pretty much this oil filter is ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and clean my hand and then go check out the status over at the bike and see if all the oil finally had stopped dripping. All the oil had finally stopped dripping. It's kind of going a little bit on the slow side, which is perfect. Just going to go ahead and get a paper towel and clean it. I know my paper towel is just a little bit dirty. It's just because I was cleaning it earlier before, you know, just to really make sure that it was completely done. So for you guys, you can go ahead and use a cleaner paper towel. All right, I already cleaned it out. You can see there's a port over there from the engine block where the oil kind of comes out as well, and it looks to be good. All right, so no more oil is dripping down. I'm gonna go ahead and clean it out a little bit more, and then we already got our oil filter here, so then we could just go ahead and put our oil filter on. So I got the oil filter on, but I do not have it completely super tight. Right now it's just hand tight. Right now, also gonna remove all of my oily paper towels here. All right, so now that everything is out, for me, I started putting it on and it's a little bit oily. So I got a clean paper towel, and this is isopropyl alcohol. I'm just gonna go ahead and, for myself, you guys don't have to do this part, but for me, I don't want any oil residue or contaminant on the filter on the outside, as I don't want to be smelling burnt cooking oil on my bike as I ride. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of wipe that all out. So now that I did that, next I'm gonna get my 17mm socket, put it on here, and since right now it's just hand tightened, I'm just gonna get my ratchet and just maybe just turn it a little bit more, and that should be good. You don't want to over tighten this part, because you definitely don't want to strip the threads that are inside. All right, so I got my socket, 17mm. Go ahead and put it on there, and now that we got it on there, I'm gonna go ahead and give it just a little bit of a turn. I say about right there is good enough. It's gonna be really tight, and it won't be at all. You can't loosen it up with your hand, you're good. So I'll say pretty much right where you see the K&N facing this way. That should be I would say a quarter of a turn, I would say that was. So that's it. All right, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and inspect. I think that a little bit of oil actually did go in exhaust. Let me get my paper towel with isopropyl alcohol and clean up all of that area right there. If you happen to have some oil as well, or some residue of oil there, make sure you guys remove the oil that's on there to make sure that there's no oil residue on your exhaust pipes as well. Alrighty, now that we're already done with the oil filter department, now we're gonna go over to the oil drain plug. Alright, it's gonna be located right here on this little rectangle part with this little kind of shield, I guess to protect the bolt or whatnot. But the bolt is right under here. It's a 17mm. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our socket, 17mm. And right now we're just gonna go ahead and loosen it. Once you get it loosened, you wanna go ahead right away, and maybe as a precaution, maybe get some paper towel put underneath on the floor in case you get a little spillage. And then we're gonna, once we start to get that drip, go ahead, get your container, put it underneath, and let all the oil drip into the can. So there we go. As you can see, the oil is coming out really well. All right, guys, so I'm just gonna wait until just like the oil filter, I'm gonna wait for it to all the drips to come down and for it to pretty much come to a slow to non-existent drip. Okay, at this point you may want to go ahead and get your oil drain plug, which is right there. Let's go ahead and grab that, clean it off with a clean paper towel, and let's go ahead and replace that gasket that's on there. Alrighty, we're back over at the bench, and it looks like I got a little oil spill there from the funnel. I'll get another piece of paper towel here and clean that oil spill up. Alrighty, guys, now we're over at the bench here, and I already got the drain plug here. I found it to be very interesting that Suzuki actually provided a drain plug with, oops, let me get all that out. I want to kind of show you before it all wipes off. It actually contains a little magnet on the top, kind of grab any metal shavings that were accumulated in the engine. And as you can see right there, there is quite a few. Well, this bike was brand new when I purchased it, so that's pretty much just, you know, engine break-in process, I would say, you know, when it came off the production line. But very interesting, pretty cool to see, you know, because normally when I have it in the car, I do get the one with the magnet on it as well, and I've never encountered anything like it, or anything on the car department for oil changes. So pretty interesting to see that on the bike it actually has it. All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean that off, get all that metal shavings off, get it off of there. Oh, there you go. See, look how dirty that was. Well, that's all the metal shaving area, and then you could see that the magnet actually is silver. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean this off really good. All right, everything is pretty much very clean off of it. There should not be anything. There's maybe microscopic a little bit on there, but for the most part, it is clean. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove the drain plug gasket that it came with, and you might find it to be really stuck on there if you're not able to get it with your fingernails. Let me see if I have something else that I can kind of pry it with, maybe a screwdriver or whatnot. All right, so let me see if I can find something, because I don't have anything to take this off. So let me go ahead and find something and I'll show you. Alrighty guys, so it looks like this particular drain plug gasket is pressed on there and I cannot remove it. But to be on the safe side, I am going to install my own. And I know I had mentioned this one earlier, which is the M12 drain plug gasket, but actually for the Suzuki, it's going to be the M14 drain plug gasket. So I'm going to go ahead and remove one out of here. I'm going to install the copper one. So you got one here, and you have your choices. If you get the, so you got, you're eventually going to have to use all of them, but you got a copper one, you got a plastic one, then you got metal, and then the other ones that are not shown that it's on this one, you got a metal one with a rubber seal on it, and then there's a blue one. To show you that blue one in there, get it out, so you can see there is a blue one right there with like a little tab on it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, just grab it, and it's fairly easy. Get it on there, and that's how it goes on. So now this one's ready to go. Close that. I got 2 more left for 2 more oil changes. All right guys, I'm gonna go ahead over to the bike and let's see how the drip is coming along on the engine bottom part. So here is the progress of the oil. As you could see, I think it's come to a very slow drip. I'll probably give it another few minutes. I want that drip to be extremely slow, and then I'll go ahead and install the drain plug, which is right here with our brand new washer, or the drain plug gasket. Once it gets to a slow, very extremely slow drip, you want to do is just grab your paper towels and kind of clean that area. Make sure there is no debris underneath there or any old gasket material, whatnot. Just make sure it's pretty clean, and then you can go ahead and install your drain plug. Make sure you tighten it pretty good, but don't over tighten it. If you guys want specs or torque specs of how much more to tighten it, I'll have a picture right here showing you on how many Newton meters to tighten down your bolt. Okay, now we're at the last portion of the oil change. So now we can go ahead and fill in our new oil. So make sure that you remove your oil filler cap. Let's go ahead and put that off to the side. Then next, you're going to be grabbing your funnel and you're going to put it in here. Be a good idea to probably hold it. All you're going to do is grab your oil and you're going to fill in 3.5 quarts. All right, already done filling the 3.5 quarts. Gonna take that out. Make sure your paper towel is clean. Wipe down any oil residue that maybe had dropped, spilled out when you took your funnel out. All right, go ahead and put your oil filler cap back on, and make sure the oil filler cap is on there tight. Okay, now that we're done filling up the engine oil, now next what we do is we're going to put the key in the ignition, and we're going to start up the engine and let the oil circulate through the engine. And while we're there, we're also going to check our mileage, so therefore we could write it down and we know, and we're going to put the reminder in the gauge cluster for our service reminder for our next oil change. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get the key in there, and you don't have to have the engine running for too long. I would say probably a few seconds just to get that first initial circulation. Make sure your bike's in neutral. All right, let's go ahead and start it. Alrighty, now the only thing that's left for me to do is to put back the fairing. So you guys do the same. It's pretty much the reversal process of what you did when you removed it, except for when you get to that top part over here of the fairing. You're just gonna make sure that you clip everything, carefully. You definitely don't want to, rush through anything and possibly snap a tab off of your fairing, because then it'll be where the fairing is not gonna sit, 100% flush or whatnot. So just make sure you take your time on this department and putting everything back together. And then don't forget to tighten down all the bolts. Alrighty, everything is all buttoned up, and honestly guys, everything went back together super smooth. So I was really surprised. I thought it was gonna be like, oh man, here we go, it's gonna be such a pain in the butt to put everything back, but everything went really well. I was really surprised. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing that everything kind of snapped back into place and everything was a lot more easier to put back on than it was to really take it apart. Alright guys, so that pretty much concludes this service on how to do the oil change and reset oil light. If you guys found this video helpful, please smash that like button. If you haven't yet subscribed, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell. That way you guys are up to date with my latest videos. Also, if you know anyone else that's looking to do an oil change, please share this video. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. If you guys dislike the video, give it a thumbs down. Let me know in the comments below what you disliked about the video, and this will help me greatly improve for a future video. Alrighty, so that's pretty much it. Alright guys, I'll catch you on the next service or installation. You guys take care and see you on the next one.